getting everything running. So thanks for joining us and just letting some people
Yep, we're good.
join. So it looks like we got all three platforms up and running. So welcome to the 21st 034 Motorsport live chat quarantine edition. It's pretty exciting. Our live chat can now drink alcohol legally, and it's a lot. 21.
It's 21 weeks, the legal age.
No, it's something to do with so. But no, we've greatly enjoyed it, and thank you guys for checking in, for asking questions. Yeah, it's been a great experience doing this.
Yeah, we're always amazed how many questions and how much interaction we're getting every week now.
Yeah, and I don't know. I always imagined if we did a live chat, it would just be people bashing us and saying terrible things about us the whole time. And you're welcome to if you want to, but we'll be happy to address those concerns. But no, it's been a really great experience, and appreciate you guys, collaborating and getting in on this with us. So it's been good. So as always, it's a Q&A session, so please feel free to ask any questions you'd like. Certainly 034 or auto related is what most people ask about, but there are other topics that we're happy to address. Certainly anything about Nader I, our experience, our careers, happy to talk about as well. And I guess we always have to talk about pops and bangs and snaps and crackles.
Launch controls.
Launch control, which we have something good to talk about this week.
Yeah. Good to talk about every week. It just doesn't.
So please submit your questions. We have representatives standing by to capture your questions and get them in front of us. So, all right. So let's see. First question, we have some leftover questions from last week, which we'll get to. So any estimate on this C7.5 CREC ECU tune will be available to flash at home and not have to be a local to do the tune?
I don't have a good estimate right now. That one's a tricky one to prioritize because it's such a limited run and a limited amount of people that are modding those things. So
we are working on it.
We are working on it. It's just one of those things we always have to balance what platforms are going to get the most attention at a time. So,
but so we uploaded a YouTube demo / instructional video on the new launch control feature, which has like almost 20,000 views in less than a week, which is a lot for us.
Yep.
But
for a video like that, especially.
But there's been a lot of people asking about E6 stuff in general.
Yeah, it's becoming a more common platform now because the cars are they're all off lease now. They're more and more modded. So.
Yeah. So we're working on it. We don't have a specific ETA. Hang in there. It's definitely on our to-do list.
Yep.
The good news is we're growing our internal tuning and engineering team substantially. By the end of the year, it'll have tripled in size.
Yep.
So
both hardware and software.
Yeah.
So we've got some really good stuff coming for you guys, and we'll be able to get more and more of these things out for you.
So, and stay tuned. In the next couple of weeks, we'll be announcing a really exciting addition to the 034 Motorsport tuning and calibration team.
Yep.
We're silly excited about it, and so is this individual. So we'll let the dust settle, and once they're actually here, we'll announce more specifics. But it will mean a lot of good things for 034 Motorsport tuning. If you like what we've done in the last year, we'll have 2 to 3 times more manpower or person power. We'd be happy to hire a female calibrator as well. But in the generic sense, manpower, we have substantially more. So a lot of exciting stuff coming. How much variance in mixture can the E40 tune handle for the B8S4?
I'd like to keep it high 30s. I'd err on the side of going a little higher on the ethanol content if you at all can.
Like you could even go E50 or
E60. I mean, normally, unless you're really strung out on the pulleys and your fuel pumps aren't keeping up, E50 is doable. E60 is probably a little further out than most can do. But
you might as well go E50, right? Because it's 50-50.
Not quite.
Well,
it's because it's E80 versus your E10 gas.
But E85 is cheap.
E85 is cheap, but
you can get
it. It's more trying to hit that target. So I usually err on the side of a little more ethanol. When there's any question about it. So whenever I do my fills, it's always the ethanol first to the ratio that I want, and then if I'm a little shy on the gasoline, I'm not worried about it. So, or if you do it the other way, you're going to be short on ethanol, which is
a worse way. You don't want to be short on ethanol, and if you put too much, then there won't be enough flow for the system.
Right. Right.
So,
So, but yeah, I mean, high 30s to mid to high 40s is usually a workable range for everybody's setup.
someone's asking about B9S4 tuning. So again, thanks to our additions
Yeah, it's
to
going to be
our
a
engineering
big
team,
boost in that regard.
we will have substantially more resources to work on that. So we don't have an ETA, but for sure it's a 2021 initiative to get that tune to market, to run some really fast drag times with it, to really prove to the market that it's a great option.
Yep.
R8 V10 tuning.
Same.
Thing. It's on our list. And we will be releasing V8 and V tuning next year.
V10 tuning. Yep. And there's multiple generations we'll have to cover, but fundamentally they're not too far apart. So.
Someone's asking, should Golf rear sway bar end links have added NVH? Are they directional? I don't know what Golf. If you're talking about our motorsport end links, yes, they will add more NVH because it's a completely metal to metal connection. It's not a lot. Wow. And the end links themselves,
TFE, but it's really minimal.
Yeah,
like damping.
The vibrations go right through that very thin layer of Teflon. And then the spherical parts themselves just tend to make more noise as well. Again, because it's metal stuff.
Depending on the year, they can sort of be directional. If it's like a Mark 6 chassis or an A3, like a PQ35 A3.
The Mark 6 definitely is.
When you flip them upside down, there's on some chassis, depending on the exact spec, you can start bumping into some stuff if the link's on with a fat end on the top or bottom.
And the MQBs are directional.
MQBs, well, yeah, those are just because of the way the mounting provisions are. But the Mark 6 stuff, you can flip and mount it up just fine. But you're gonna have some clearance concerns one way or the other.
Right. Someone's asking, why do you not answer phone calls at this time? Great question. So when COVID started, we had basically, like many places, there was a shutdown. And so in order to reduce the risk of COVID transmission, we had anyone that could work from home do so. And so that meant all the sales and customer service staff were working from home for several months. Yeah. That was okay because we were still operating actually at more than we were usual because people were at home, they weren't commuting, and the staff was actually working more hours. But what happened is, with the stimulus money and people being at home bored, our business has grown 50% since April. And so we're not able to just rush out and hire a bunch more sales and customer service staff, and we're not even sure how long this sales bump will last. So in order for us to handle customer inquiries the most quickly and the most thoroughly, we had to stop answering the phones, because one phone call, someone wants an order status. Well, that could be a 10, 15-minute phone call. In an email, it could literally be 30 seconds. So we're able to just handle a lot more customers, a lot more tickets, with it all going through our email ticketing system. So we apologize for the inconvenience. We certainly love connecting with our customers. We love shooting the shit or...
It's not that we don't want to talk to you guys. It's just
having that rapport.
It's just a bandwidth and scheduling issue, is being able to get to as many of you as we can.
It's our job to get back to customers, right? So the customer service staff, they're to a degree compensated by how quickly and efficiently they respond to customers. So the best way they can do that is through email.
Yep. And it's maybe it doesn't feel as personal, or you really want to hear that voice on the other end, but literally there's no better way to support you. We've said this a number of times before, but having that actual reply in writing, having essentially a paper trail to your questions and answers.
That's a huge thing. Having everything in writing.
It's something people really don't consider as much when they pick up the phone.
You can have misunderstandings over the phone. People think they said things that they didn't say. People think they heard things.
And a lot of these are so little nuanced questions or problems that you may think you quite grasp it all on the phone. Maybe you misheard or missed a word here or there. It can totally change what the answer can do for you.
We currently have a 2 to 3 day email response time, which is a lot more than we'd like.
Yeah.
But if we were doing phones, it would probably be a week or two. So phones sound great, but the reality is they would give you less than what you want. So if you have a question about order status, if you have a tech support question, if you want to return something, if you want to buy something, you're going to get the best result by using our email ticketing system, which is on our website when you go to the contact page. So we appreciate you guys understanding. We definitely hope to turn it on again at some point. If this growth and level of business is permanent, then and we actually have added customer service
We
staff.
have, yeah.
So we have grown the team, but our sales continue to be really high. So we'll keep an eye on it. Someone's asking, what do phenolic spacers for intake manifolds do? So when you have an intake manifold, which is made from aluminum, even a plastic manifold to some degree, when it's bolted to the head and there's just a thin gasket separating it from the head.
If even some of them are O-ring sealed, and it's literally aluminum to aluminum.
Right. So those you get a very direct conduction of heat from the heat source, which is the cylinder head, into the intake manifold. And then what happens is, as the intake manifold heats up, it radiates heat into the intake charge, and that heat goes into your motor. So regardless of having a big, badass, awesome intercooler, that cool air hits the intake manifold, and it heats up. So what a phenolic does is, typically they're 6 to 10 millimeters in thickness, the ones we make. And they're made from a phenolic material, which is like a resin impregnated phenolic material.
Yeah, it's like a combination of like a fiberglass and a plastic material. It's a very high temperature thermoplastic, essentially, with a fiber backing, impregnation.
What's so great about it, in addition to its strength and dimensional stability, is it's a terrible conductor of heat or electricity. So it's a very good insulator.
Yep.
So by installing this thick spacer that does not conduct heat in between the intake manifold and the cylinder head, then you keep that heat from going into the intake manifold.
Yep.
It's a nice thing to do. It's not gonna, it's not gonna transform your car. I mean, these are like $50 to $100.
Yeah.
It makes a lot of sense to do it. There's really no reason not to.
Yeah, it's one of these incremental things where it's kind of, you've done everything else, and this is the next step.
So we've sold many thousands of them. It's a nice little product. Yeah. You can also use them if you're doing port matching. We have transition ones.
Beware of snake oil. You won't see one from us that goes between a plastic intake manifold for a number of reasons. I have seen them out there.
The plastic ones, certainly, you're just adding more plastic.
Yeah, the plastic's such a poor conductor compared to aluminum.
Yeah,
you're literally adding a little more plastic to your plastic.
Yeah. So I mean, I think our R32 one is plastic.
That one is because we had the aluminum manifold to go with it, and then also there were some injector clearance things that it got.
I just want to clarify.
There are a couple of reasons.
The R6 one is for, the reason we came up with it is for using it with an aluminum aftermarket intake. But Nate's right. There's really not a big benefit to doing it with a plastic intake manifold. Nope. So, so good products, definitely recommended, and so that's the idea, to keep the heat, and you'll be able to measure the heat. So, run your engine for 20 minutes. Check the intake manifold temperature. If you can replicate similar conditions, then put the phenolic on, you will see a substantial drop in temperature. So, all right. So, someone is asking if I have any marriage advice for a newlywed. It's a good question. So, I'm coming up on 20 years of marriage in next month, or November. Nate's got a good marriage going too. So, the thing I always say about marriage is, and I think this goes for any good relationship, is each person in a relationship should be focused on the other person's benefit. So if you're in a relationship where you're always fighting for your own benefit and you're never fighting for the other person's benefit, then you have a relationship where both people are simply fighting and investing in themselves. And that's not what brings two people close together. So I think, any good marriage or relationship, there's going to be arguments, there's going to be disagreements. But at the end of the day, both people need to come together for the benefit of the other. And if you can't do that for someone else, I don't think you'll ever have good relationships. And if you can't find someone that will do that for you, then I think you'll also have the same issue. So what I always like to use this metaphor is, imagine you have a table and two people are sitting and they each have a plate of food in front of them. And the only way they can eat the food is with a 3-foot-long spoon. But there's no way that you could feed yourself with that spoon. It's just too long. But you can reach the spoon across the table and you can pick up that food and feed the other person. And so that to me is what a good relationship is. not bad to feed yourself. Certainly, you got to look out for yourself and your own benefit as well. But there needs to always be a focus on the other person. So, anything to add to that, Nate?
I don't know if I can top that analogy. That's I've never heard the 3-foot spoon analogy. So that's
We
pretty
never talked
solid.
about that. Yeah, no, that's when I heard that, it was like, yeah, that's what a good relationship's all about. So you got to feed the other person. All right. So are we still racing any cars? We at 034 Motorsport are not currently racing anything
Not
ourselves.
directly from the shop here. We do support a number of teams.
Yeah, but the main reason we're not doing it is because we're here developing products, engineering, serving customers, inventorying our warehouse,
Yep.
Upgrading our ERP system. So we are very busy doing things to improve our products and our business processes.
Yep.
And to make this a great place for employees to work, etc. So that racing focus with our current level resources takes away from that, and we're not willing to trade, some racing experience or success with the business goals that we have. However, we definitely want to do more in the future, so that will be something that we will eventually do more of again. Because in the past, when we were doing all the cool badass racing stuff, this place was not what it should be. So it came at a cost.
Yeah, there's only so many resources we can put into all these efforts.
But like Nate said, we are supporting other race teams. So we're
Race
supporting
teams, individuals.
Panther Motorsport.
We have a contingency program for drag racing right now.
Of course.
We're
really
still
like to-
very
to-
invested, but we'd rather you guys went out
That's
there
right.
and really proved it all.
Yeah. So, but the Panther Motorsport, it's a
Red
2.0
Panther.
T Red Panther that we've done all the tuning for, and they're running a lot of our parts. So it's really cool to see them out there, and we've helped keep them on track more from their previous tuning, which was blowing up their engines and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So if you're interested in doing racing and you want our involvement or support, reach out to us. We're always interested in getting involved, but right now we're not doing it ourselves. When will Stage 1 and Stage 2 receive the new 2-step launch control? Want to talk about that?
Sorry, I was actually just reading something else. When will the what and the where? Stage 1 and Stage 2?
Yeah.
In the next weeks. All the software is rolling out now, and then it's just it's actually a pretty quick.
This is for B8, obviously.
Yeah.
B8.5.
B8.5. So wrapping up the B8.5 stuff probably today for the rest of the box codes. Ran into a little snag over last week that put me behind a little bit, but that got cleared up. And
So what have we released so far?
all the B8s are pretty much covered, and most of the B8.5s. So I've got like 1 or 2 common boxes that left that I really got to knock out.
So if you currently have our tuning, what should they do? They can log into their account.
Yeah, this is for 2+ right now. That's our first release point. And then you just log into the software. If you see the R7, Nick's got a whole post up on how to check and what to look for.
Yep.
But yeah, it's version 7. It'll say plus advanced launch on it for to get you the new stuff. And you got to run, if you're a DSG, you've got to run both the ECU and the TCU for that.
Right.
So if you only see one or the other, just hold on or ping us and say, hey, I've got one but not the other, and we'll make sure we get you covered.
Someone's asking, how do you get flashing credentials if you didn't buy the cable?
Yeah, so I saw this pop up. It sounds like their friend has our cable.
You need to buy the cable.
They want to buy the. No, they can buy just the software. Okay. You can buy just the software on the store. Just the tune. Yeah. And email us. We can set you up with credentials. You don't necessarily have to buy the cable, but we strongly recommend it because
we should talk to Nick about that because I don't think that's what we've been telling.
We've done a handful of them, but it's not recommended because the cable gets you a lot more flexibility and resources. It's worth having. It's a small investment in the scheme of things, and
so email tuning.
Email tuning. Yeah, that's exactly what
tuning at 034 has
to do. Yep.
How often do you rebuild spherical end links? I would say it's not something that you need to do unless there's a certain amount of play that you don't like. So at some point, the two rotating components wear. They are wear items that just like any other joint that is in contact with another metal surface. It's probably going to be like every 1 to 2 years, depending on what you do with the car.
Yeah, it's so condition specific and vehicle specific. It's hard.
Some cars that you might have to do it after 3 months. So like on race cars, these are parts that often get replaced. Every few races, depending on where the suspension is and how much it's moving. So, like a sway bar end link, which is just kind of acting under compression and not really rotating that much. it's going to last longer. But you have a suspension component that's pivoting, thousands and thousands of times. It's going to wear a lot faster, and then the force is on top of it.
Yeah, people may not realize quite how much movement there is in those joints. It's literally every marble, every piece of gravel you're going over. That's any micro movement of the wheel and tire is directly translated to the sway bar because it's they're linked together.
Yeah.
So,
someone's asking about thoughts on the IE B8.5 record. Matt Tremblay did run 0.06 seconds faster than our fastest time. So congratulations, guys. Very exciting to see IE stepping up and pushing the record forward. So we are continuing to push as well. So hopefully, we can take it back and push things even further. I mean,
that's the name of the game.
At some point, we could all be running 9s, and I think we will be. So we're getting very close. So yes, congrats to IE, and it's a great competitive dynamic. The only thing I would say is, I'd like to see things stay friendly. So we always try to keep things professional and friendly.
Yep.
But it is, some of the memes are a little bit spicy, but what are you gonna do? That's not something we
championing
would do. But
they're given tuners.
You always have to give credit where credit is due, and that's always our goal. So, let's see what else.
Somebody's asking what the recommended launch RPM for a Stage 2 Plus
street tires.
4 on street tires.
Are we talking about Westlakes or Michelin?
Yeah, that's going to be a really tough one to answer. Street tires is a gamut of terribleness.
But generally,
it's almost a drag.
Generally, it's like just off of idle, right?
It's really low. It depends on the octane. If you're running, there's so many variables here to talk about. But on an E40 file, I mean, I'm launching around 1800 to 2000, and even then, if there's any compromise in traction, it'll just start spinning all 4. So it's pretty low. But with the new advanced launch stuff, we've got both hard limiters, soft limiters, and you can set it all over the place. So we've had a number of guys that have, in the past week, cut their fastest 60 foot and 0 to 60s since the launch control stuff came out. So you're going to have a lot more control over that moving forward.
Someone's asking if we will release B8S4 Stage 3 tune. So I guess we'd have to define what that means. Is that the throttle body tune? Or?
Yeah, that staging is it's a marketing thing.
Yeah, there's no.
What is a Stage 3? What are you looking for? But yeah, we'll have
big B8S4 used to mean the bigger 1800 TVS supercharger head unit, which has been pretty widely debunked as not an upgrade.
That one didn't go too far.
So if there was a way to increase the Laminova intercooler capacity, but you're basically taking an 8-cylinder supercharger head unit, putting it on a 6-cylinder, and so you end up lopping a whole cylinder of intercooling off, and that's just doesn't work on the B8. So speaking of throttle bodies, this is a prototype throttle body adapter that we've just had printed. And this is a high-temp, high-strength thermoplastic.
Yeah, so this isn't just a normal 3D print. This is actually a very high-temp thermoplastic running this exact unit on our shop car right now.
So this will be running on several cars. It's running on our in-house car currently, and it will be on the ECS car as well. So eventually, when we have our cast aluminum units, we'll replace these because this isn't as strong as aluminum, but
no, this is just
it's a very nice high flow design.
Yep.
Puts everything where it needs to be, and we have a whole X34 cold air intake that will be compatible with this as well. I really wish we would have come out with this like 5 years ago, but nonetheless, lots of people still seem to want it, and we will do a really nice version. What throttle body did we settle on?
Right now, that is a 85 millimeter unit.
Yeah.
So one of the bigger out there.
So our nomenclature is to stay in the Stage 2 Plus range. Specification with this upgrade. We're not going to necessarily call it Stage 3. I think that would be disingenuous. The throttle bodies. It is a power adder, but it's not any better than an intake, for example.
It's the same. Yeah, it's the same problem you're fixing as an intake. You're just removing some restrictions in the inlet.
I think going full Stage 3 with it's a little too bullshitty for us. But
no, it'll just be Stage 2 with or 2 plus whatever with a throttle body.
Yeah, but it will make power. We'll publish all the results, and and it'll be very fairly priced compared to what else is on the market. Well, lots of questions today. Thank you, guys.
Yep.
Plans for Mark II TTRS port fuel injection. We are doing a car here, right?
Yes. Yep. Yep. Sorry, Colin. It's taking a little longer than normal thanks
Yes.
to these other B8 updates we're doing. But
yeah, so Colin Delano's car, we will be doing it on his and pushing the limits with that. So yeah, so hopefully that turns into a product. So
yeah, and that one's it's not just a simple port fuel injection. That one we're actually doing a full ECU integration with it. So it'll have full flex fuel control and ability, and the stock ECU is also going to control the trimming and whatnot on the injectors. So it's a pretty refined integration.
Someone's asking, what makes our R460 kit stand out for the Mark 7R? That's also a great question. So the R460 kit is designed to be an OEM quality turbocharger upgrade. Since there really is no KO4 turbo from the factory for that application.
I mean, it is already there. It's the IS38 on
yeah, but
there's nothing.
The cars
bigger.
already come with it. So we take a Loba turbocharger, which has a bigger billet compressor wheel and some reworked aerodynamics on the turbine side. And with our tuning, we basically are able to produce a package that has similar spool characteristics to the stock turbo. And there's there's always a compromise. So there's a little bit of lag. But what you get in return for that is an extended power band where power can climb, all the way to red line. As opposed to kind of peaking and falling off at about 6,000 RPM.
Yeah, exactly.
So again, it's not the most powerful kit on the market. It's not the craziest. It's a very OEM kit. It's an OEM Plus style kit. You're not going to notice a ton of power over like a good stage 2 file below 6,000. But the aerodynamics of the stock IS38, are the issue here, and so we address that. By giving you a turbocharger that can flow. So, where the stock IS38 drops off like this, the R460 will continue. Yeah. And we publish all the dyno numbers there. So it's a very reliable, proven kit. There was some controversy about it a while back. But it is a good kit. It makes good numbers. We've been able to increase the power of it since we released it initially. And we'd love to see more out there. I think, when we developed it, it was at the time when another big tuner had their stage 3 turbo kit that was causing tons of issues for customers out there. And so we wanted to come out with something that was issue free and reliable and trackable. That's the key. You can beat this on track.
Yeah, and we did. I mean, it was
session after session with no issues.
Yeah, no hardware. We took it to the European Car GP, went up against a bunch of these other kits. It was by far the most reliable and repeatable car on track.
Tested a TTE like a 525.
Yeah, I have.
That's bigger.
Yep.
And we couldn't make any more power with it because of fuel octane ratings.
Well, right, yeah. So we were limited, obviously, with fueling for most of the guys out there, and then you're running into a bunch of other limits. You've got to build up, more and more, parts of the build. It gets to be more than just
fueling has to get upgraded. So
it gets out of the just turbo kit range. So it's a little more.
With factory fueling, this was a great option. So. All right, we're 30 minutes in. I wanted to take a minute to talk about something that
you want to bring up the
I want to talk about the Dunning-Kruger effect. And so this is you can read about this online. You can read about a lot more, but this is I don't know if it's scientifically proven, but I do believe there's
it's a phenomenon that's pretty.
Yes, it's a well documented phenomenon.
Pretty easy to see and.
Yes,
put a name to.
That happens with humans as they learn and are exposed to new information. So I didn't make this chart. So this is a typical chart you can find online about Dunning-Kruger. And Mount Stupid is actually part of the Dunning-Kruger, the written documentation about it. But basically, we see this Dunning-Kruger effect play out in a lot of areas of society. But specifically, I want to talk about how we see it play out in the Volkswagen Audi community. And we see this play out in forums and on groups all the time. So you have someone who buys a car, they own it for 6 months, they spend some time reading, and to their credit, they gain a tremendous amount of knowledge. I mean, if at Christmas you start talking to your family members and cousins about half the stuff you talk about on the forums, nobody will have any idea what you're talking about. So, in that sense, you are extremely knowledgeable compared to the average person.
Yeah.
But you got to watch out for the initial surge of confidence you get from that learning, and to realize that without the experience and time, that you may be weighing your expertise more than is reality. So I would say, for Nate and I, who've been doing this for 20 years, we're somewhere on that stage of enlightenment curve. I definitely hit the peak of Mount Stupid, I would say probably in 1998, 99, where I really started getting into some of the email list, the Quattro list, and I started soaking up information for 6 months to a year, and I thought I was like a world-renowned expert.
Yep.
And I certainly acted that way in the groups. And my first job out of college was at Eurospec Sport, or Overland Parts, which is unfortunately now defunct.
Yeah.
And when I went there, I realized I didn't know shit. There was an old ex-Audi Sport mechanic that worked there, and the guy would just spit knowledge, and I had no idea what he was talking about. And I had to somehow reconcile that with the persona that I had built online, where I was this huge expert. And then a moment later, I'm standing in front of this guy and I have no idea what he's talking about. So I quickly fell into the valley of
despair,
feeling that I actually didn't know anything. And I had wasted so much time, and all the things that I thought I knew, I didn't really know anything. And so thankfully, I worked there for a couple years. And this mechanic's name was Dave Weems. And I learned a tremendous amount from him. I learned a lot from other people. I continued learning and researching online, which ultimately, that knowledge and experience led me to start 034 Motorsport, to create one of the first standalone EFI systems for 5 cylinders, and all the amazing things that have brought 034 Motorsport here to this day. But, constantly here at 034 Motorsport, we're realizing, we are not, at the plateau of what is it, sustainability?
Oh yeah, the plateau of sustainability.
Yeah. We are still learning. We are still making mistakes. Sometimes you guys see us release product updates, or we've done recalls. Many, a number of recalls in the past. So we haven't done one recently, thankfully. But
we try not to.
And we don't always get everything right. So we're still learning. But you're talking about the team here at 034 has combined 100, 200 years of experience and knowledge, and we're still learning. So this is just something to keep in mind when you're interacting with people that they think they know everything, to help guide them and realize that they may be at the, not to call them stupid, but to understand that they may actually have a lot more confidence than their knowledge would dictate. And at that point, rationally explaining concepts and technical concepts, referencing proven, documented science and information.
I think one easy way to kind of filter this out in your online world is if someone's replying to a either a technical or a pretty nuanced question with like no possibility that there's anything else out there that could be the answer, they're just telling you this is how it is, they're probably near the peak of Mount Stupid. There's always some nuanced answer, or some qualifications that need to be given to an answer. So if you just get this, they think they hit the nail on the head. That's your only answer. It's the only way it could be. Everyone else is stupid if they don't answer this way. They're probably the ones in the peak of Mount Stupid. It's generally the peak plateau of sustainability also comes with some humility and some understanding that you probably don't know enough. Or there's more to know.
I mean, if you read, some of Einstein's later stuff, he's not confident on how much he knows about the universe. In fact, he's pretty adamant that he knows almost nothing. And that's probably the person who up to that point understood it more than any human who had ever lived. Then the other thing is sometimes you have, two people on one side of Mount Stupid or the other,
right,
and they're arguing with each other. So Mount Stupid is a pretty, I wouldn't have called it that, because I think it encourages people to.
It's pretty inflammatory.
Yeah, it's very inflammatory. But, the Dunning-Kruger curve is something to really take notes, and as something that I hope more people in the community will think about as they post and interact with others. So anyways, thanks for letting us take that tangent. So
that trip across the mountains.
All right, let's get back to it. I mean, so far, cracks and popples. Popples haven't come up yet. So,
Thank goodness.
what is the fastest Audi car with just a stage 1 tune? I think that's still us. Well, for B8
so
anyway.
let's qualify that. If it's general, I would say it's probably going to be one of the Daza setups. You know, our TTRS.
Oh,
with just
yeah.
a stage
General
1
stage
tune.
1, yes. Because there's some. Are they in the 9s on stage 1?
I don't know if anyone's cracked 9 on a stage
Certainly low
1 setup.
10s.
It's low 10s for sure.
Yeah, the Daz is just a whole new level.
So yeah, I mean, for a given platform, I'd say that's probably the one to give that banner to. No, I don't know if we're still top for B8S4.
Last time we talked about it,
We didn't exactly do a lot of effort on making us the top. It just happened. We were on like terrible Westlake tires.
Yeah, but you ran like an 11.7,
11.8, I think.
11.8.
Yeah.
So that's just a straight stage 1 car.
Literally
no weight
the
reduction.
First time we'd been to the track, full weight car.
What fuel?
104 on that one.
104 octane fuel. But I think you had the baby seat in. I don't know, but the back seat was definitely in. So
everything was in. It was a full
seat.
weight. The spare tire might. It was literally we're just gonna go up to the track and do some testing.
Yeah.
And,
So
a solid time.
I'm hearing 10.3 is now the fastest for TTRS. We did hold the record at one point.
Yeah, for the stage 1
Like a
stuff.
10.4.
I think a 10.4.
So we're still up there. And our stage 1 teams, we've substantially improved it since we ran that. So we really need to get
that was
back
also that was also a pretty early file.
Yeah. Fuel drain feature for the B8S4.
Yep. Talked about this a little bit. We've got a whole toolkit and suite coming out for a number of these platforms. That's one of them. So it'll be much more than just a fuel drain. It'll be throttle body adaptation, transmission adaptation, fuel drain. Basically, a servicing toolkit for all the common stuff you would need. For modifying and working on the car is the idea, and then of course full fault code reading and that kind of thing. So yep. It's coming. It's just this is all part of the software and engineering resources we're adding, is to help bring that stuff to light.
Yeah. Launch control with ignition cut for the SQ5 Q5.
So I think I have that sorted out. That is going to be up for testing, in the next week here. I've got some other stuff I've got to get to first. That's kind of been backburnered because of all this launch control updating. But the ECU side's done. That's the same across all these. It's making the VF8 play nice with it, and I think I have a good way to do that now.
Yeah. Someone's asking, will we tune through DS1 for RS3? They just announced yesterday that your TC tune is a preferred file to run with their off-the-shelf software. Well, that's good news. We appreciate that. Our DSG tune is very good for the Daza. Yes, we've actually spoken to them, and we're interested in. Just as like tuners and engineers, we're completely geeking out about what they're doing. It's very exciting. They've turned the factory ECU into a full standalone.
Basically, they put a lot of time and work into that.
Yeah. So what they're doing is legit, as we've said before, and it's actually quite good, especially the thought of like having, putting a standalone in a Daza versus this option. There's no comparison. So, we are definitely planning on doing something with it, and it's just one of the many tuning projects that we have to juggle with all the other ones. But overall, it's a very exciting development for the Daza tuning community. Right. I think we already did the fuel drain. What are the pros of going with the 034 tune for the B8.5 S4 rather than going with APR? Well, we talked about this, openly. I think, APR is obviously a market-leading company. They have been, for 20 years, and they have a lot of good tunes. They're typically first to the market, as can be seen. They're first to market for B9S4, et cetera, et cetera. And they were the first to market for B8S4 as well. The issue with APR specifically related to B8 is, they've moved on from that. They're tuning Porsches now, and I just saw they had a new RS6 on their dyno. Good for them. That's awesome. We won't be touching, the new RS6 for quite some time. But when we do touch it, we will push to have the best tuning on the market. And so for the B8.5, we can confidently say that we do. If APR wants to take some engineering effort off of these newer applications to go back to the B8, they could possibly keep up with what we've been doing, but we'll very confidently state that we're confident we're way ahead of where APR is. So,
and that's just on the calibration side. Never mind being able to do it all yourself at home. You can change octanes by yourself.
Right.
You can
actually flash at home
whatever math
yourself.
you want, both ECU and TCU. So
Yeah.
that the experience is completely different between the two, and then in addition to all the technical reasons that the calibrations have progressed since the last APR touched it.
I also, would dare them to put any of their tuners on the air to talk to you guys publicly,
Right.
So you guys have a level of access to us and our tuning and your input. You have a direct connection with what we're doing. And, frankly, that's the way we can be competitive. We don't have 20 engineers. We don't have, 5 dynos.
Yeah.
So there's certain, we can't be first to market. We can't compete with that. But what we can compete with is what we're doing, and the kind of personalized artist touch to these tunes is how we can compete and how we can find our spot in this market. Not to give away all our secrets, but that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
We're not trying to go head to head with APR and be APR. We're being 034 Motorsport in the best way we can be, especially given the opportunity that's available. And there is a lot of people out there who want custom, touch to their tuning and to their products.
Yep.
And this detailed. We're enthusiasts ourselves.
Oh yeah,
we love
absolutely.
these cars, so that's what we have to offer. So I strongly recommend going 034 based on all that, and hopefully you make the right choice. The crackle questions are here. Nate, you want to take this one?
Yes, the question is, crackles are apparently louder in the Revision 7 maps for the S4. Chances are good it's going to be a little more noticeable for you on the racing test pipe files. We did change how that works a little bit, so now you'll notice in drive mode you don't get the crackles, and in sport mode you do. So there's just some nuanced features we're adding, and then it's also probably going to be a little more aggressive just in the way that we're doing the torque management that comes along with it. So
one theory is that since people have been on TikTok, watching TikTok so much while they've been waiting for this, that they just forgot how loud they really were. And so, it's kind of like when you have like a deprivation of sensory input and then when you finally do it again, it's like, whoa, that's really loud.
Yeah,
so,
no, there are definitely some, especially on the B8, there are some very dramatic changes in the way we're doing it. So there are differences between R7 and the earlier stuff. So that's not totally placebo. There are some more crackles there, and it should be more switchable for most of you as long as you have some way to change your drive mode on your car. So.
And that concludes our crackle content for today. Thank you. Any need for front sway bar on Daily Driver RS3? I would say so. So the Daza, or not the Daza, but the Daza RS3 is an MQB platform. It's a chassis. And due to the way the Haldex works, the handling and chassis dynamics are more similar to a front drive car than to, say like a rear wheel drive sports car, or even an Audi with Quattro that can deliver up to 80-90% of the torque to the rear diff. So because of that, the traction of the front tires is extremely important. Yeah. And what a bigger front sway bar does in our application, it's much bigger than stock, is it keeps that inside tire planted. The last thing you want is that inside tire lifting off the ground. The second that inside tire loses traction, the front diff sends all the power out that side. And so you lose your ability, you lose any tractive effort to move or accelerate the car in that moment until the wheel comes back down and torque gets delivered to the outside wheel with all the traction. So that's the main reason you want it. That's important on the street. It also makes the car handle very flat, which is why the inside wheel doesn't lift. So I recommend it. If you want a real tail happy car and you don't care so much about putting power down in the corners, then I would say the rear sway bar is fine, and you're gonna have a blast with that setup. Hooning, but not necessarily gonna be fast. B8 intake update, carbon scoop on intake for B8 we have for B9. Yes, so wow, you guys just ask all the...
That's B9.
Oh, this is B9, sorry. We don't have any B8 stuff out here, but it's coming very soon. I think this gets asked every week.
Yep.
I think we're just waiting on the carbon parts to being to be delivered from our molding.
Yeah, everything's done, designed.
So
Just waiting on some manufacturing right now.
we want to release it yesterday, so I keep asking. It's no problem, but it's going to be soon. Hopefully, in the next few weeks. But B9 S4 ResX ETA, so those are also coming. I believe the parts. So one of the benefits of joining MP was we can share shipping and freight resources. So I believe these parts have arrived at the MP warehouse in Southern California, and they're on their way up here. So that means once we have the parts in stock, we'll finish all the webpage and the marketing. So hopefully we can release those in the next 3 weeks or so. But hang in there, the B9 ResX, it looks very similar to our B8, similar finish, the titanium finish. It's a really nice piece. Here we go. What's the large orange bulging thing on the table? Well, we have several, I guess. So
asked by Troy.
This one's not really orange. I'll talk about this one first. So this is the sit-on prototype, and this is really cool. This is something Nate's been doing. If you can see, this is a 3D print, but it's squishy. So what is this material, Nate?
TPU.
TPU. So this is a some kind of polyurethane.
It's a rubberized plastic. Compound. It's what a lot of your your iPhone case, a lot of manufactured plastics that have some give to them are TPU or TPU blend.
So so we are doing a P34 for the B9S4. So this is a lower priced plastic intake for the B9S4 with a silicone hose. So this is our internal test fit prototype. We will actually fit this on the car. Since it's rubbery, it will squeeze over the connections. We can clamp down. We can drive it.
Yep. I've actually got one on our Shop S4 right now.
There you go. And so look for that P34 intake coming out in the next few months. Again, this will be a lower priced B9S4 product.
Yep.
If you don't want to spend the $600-700 for the X34 carbon version.
Yep.
And this orange bulging thing, glad they didn't ask for a purple bulging thing, but this is our upcoming DAZA intake. So this is our prototype. It does look similar to the Unitronic piece. We have not copied Unitronic. This is
a problems where there's an envelope you got to fill
right. This is a clean sheet design.
Connections that need to.
And you can see this. We've actually copied the factory piece, and so did Unitronic.
I mean, that's where you got to work.
But if you compared, this to anything else on the market, the APR1 in addition, this is going to be in the same spot. This is probably going to be in the same spot or very close.
Yeah, this is one of the earlier prototypes. This is actually going to move a little bit, but yeah, it's all got to connect to the same stuff.
But what is different between ours and Unitronics and probably anyone else's is where this point resides. So this is designed to work with our intake locations. It will probably work with others.
Probably work with most of what's out, just because it's such a limited spot to put this.
They all fall in this kind of range, but we certainly didn't buy anyone else's product and copy it. So this is we started a factory piece, and specifically, we don't even talk to our hardware engineers about other products on the market. We in fact try to shield them from even knowing about them because we don't want any ideas or concepts to bleed over. But we are currently working on a casting solution for this, and then there will be a series of adapters that go in here to allow this to adapt to just about any kind of factory or hybrid turbo on the market. So we're excited. Again, we're late to the party on this one. However, it is coming, and it'll be a cool product. So we talked about that. This is just a cutaway of some of our density motor mounts. I think this is a 2.0 FSI mount.
Yep.
But you can see it's a solid rubber design. We've tailored the durometer of the rubber to be much stiffer than factory. So this is a much better performing mount than the factory mounts. It's not necessarily a lot stronger. So you're not going to be able to go out and do big drag launches and have better strength than the factory piece.
If you're hitting like material limits and breaking aluminum parts, that's the construction is very similar to the factory stuff there. But
it is, and the factory mounts are strong. I'm not trying to say these aren't strong, but these aren't designed to be stronger; they're designed to be better performing.
Yeah.
We have motorsport mounts. If you want to really abuse the car, you want to do clutch dumps, drag launches, anything you want to do, you can do it with our motorsport mounts, 100%. But the density mounts are to be used in the same way that factory mounts are used. They're just better. They handle and perform better. So less drivetrain compliance and less of your motor bouncing around.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what that question means.
Which one?
The top one.
I'm off this.
Let's see. Any dates you will release a hull decks for the Mark 7R? We have no date.
No.
This is the hull decks is on our list of things to do, but we have no ETA or date on when we will release it. I'd certainly like to think that we would be able to do something in 2021, but that's about as much as we could say.
Yeah.
How many people have actually bought the Hella Flush stance kit?
Honestly,
I'll be happy to say nobody.
yes. We would not sell it even if they tried.
I want to say early on someone did buy it and we had to like cancel their order and refund it.
The product we do get inquiries on are the
Uberflow.
the Uberflow intercoolers.
Yeah, the Uberflow intercoolers, because they're $9,000 and
Literally, people are just saying it's really expensive, so it must be good.
Yes,
Tell me more.
Right. I mean, this is a thing, right? Like, it's $9,000. It's literally 5 times more than anything else on the market. It has to be better, even though it's a joke. So, to be fair, the product description, while pure satire, is very dry and convincing. But no, nobody's bought Hella Flush stance kits. There's been a few people that thought it was a serious product and tried to bash us, and I just trolled them. So if you want to read those comments, you can go on our YouTube page and read the Hella Flush video, and I just relentlessly troll these people, which was really fun. So recommendations for B5S4 upgrades. I mean, from an engine standpoint, 100%. Our Stage 3 kit, which is the RS4 KO4 turbo kit, that is the best B5S4 option on the market, just far as like reliable, broad, torquey power band with great power. There are lots of billet wheel and hybrid options and a lot of like Chinese and Indian turbos and stuff out there. You know, I would say those don't give you the ultimate benefits,
especially
over
not
the KO4.
Yeah, especially not for the cost of entry, because I mean the KO4 does a pretty good job of basically using everything you can get out of the motor. Without building it up,
on pump fuel, there's really no reason to do anything else. If you start doing E85 and more race fuel type stuff, you can make more power. But we've done, I mean, you name it, the Tile 650, 605, 770s. We've done, name all the 3-letter acronym companies. We've done the what was
single turbo.
What was the one? Franken turbo. We did those once, and that was the only time we've done those. So I recommend KO4. And then on the chassis side, I mean, it used to be like, you know, I mean, frankly, the Öhlins coilovers are the best option for that car. They are still available from PSI. But, you know, our rear sway bar is a great upgrade for that.
Yeah, that's transformative on those.
And, you know, we still have a lot of B5 products for that. So certainly our mounts and drivetrain components are the best on the market. I have the transmission coupling on my 2012 S4. Is there something similar for the Mark 1 TT with 3.2 and DSG?
Transmission coupling. I'm assuming that's the insert underneath the...
Is that like the rubber? I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure what they're really getting there. Yeah,
I don't know
if it's this
what transmission
split
coupling.
joint. I'm gonna assume it's
the drive shaft support.
No, because we don't even have
transmission coupling.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm gonna assume it's a driveline insert. In which case, yes, we have those for the Mark 1 TT as well. Where it's the dogbone puck. Obviously, the driveline's 90 degrees to what the BS4 is, so there's some different mounts and provisions, but I mean, we've got similar products across.
Feel free to post
let us know exactly what you're asking on that one.
What's the difference between 187 millimeter crank pulley and 190 crank pulley?
3.
I mean, 190 is bigger than 187.
Yeah, it's going to get you more, a little more little more boost. It's going to spin the supercharger a little bit
Spins
faster.
a little bit faster.
We've got RPM charts up on the on these product pages, so you can kind of see where your speed will land. We'll have a lot of people that'll use like just a 190 or made it with a smaller upper as well to kind of find the ratio they're looking for. So it's just another option out there for.
The issue is the supercharger has a flow limit, regardless of what pulley you put on it, and so a bigger pulley will get to that flow limit sooner. So that can certainly translate to more, mid-range, and low end power as that whole curve is shifted up. But once you hit the flow limit, it doesn't matter. You can run a 250 millimeter pulley and it wouldn't make more peak flow than a 190 necessarily. And at some point, the supercharger will just blow up, right? Because it's
Well, yeah. I
spinning
mean, you
too
can
fast.
obviously spin it too, but there's guys out there running big pulleys. It's just it's a diminishing returns to the point of negative returns. The bigger you go, you're turning more and more of that air into heat. It's harder and harder to manage. So if you've got a specific reason, it's like our autocross guy Jay runs a really big pulley setup, but he's not winding it out much. He's autocrossing, and it's a real short burst. So you can kind of tailor where your power profile lands based on the pulley sizes.
That's kind of like if you're running a marathon, you don't want to sprint, the first half and then pass out and die at the middle.
Right.
So these pulleys are sort of like a marathon. You want the right amount of supercharger speed to get you to the goal, which is peak power. And going bigger or harder over that doesn't necessarily always get you what you want. So, oh, wow, it's really okay out there.
Yeah, well, some big bangs going on behind us.
Okay, we're getting down one last one. RS3 or B9 S4? That's a tough question. I mean, they're both amazing cars. Obviously, the RS3 is extremely tunable right now and can literally make twice as much power with pretty simple bolt-ons.
Yep.
However, the B9 S4 handles more like an Audi. It handles more like a rear-wheel drive car, especially with the vectoring diff.
Yep. Yeah, on track or driven at the limit, they're really different animals.
They're different, yeah. And the way they go through the corners and longer wheelbase. And then, you can have like seat massagers. And,
there's a lot of creature comforts too.
Creature comforts. It's just a quieter, softer riding, cushier car. And the RS3, this isn't a criticism, I'm nitpicking, but it feels more like a Volkswagen. It feels more like a GTI, where the S4 feels like an Audi.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's a lot of it's just the chassis design. You're still dealing with a McPherson strut.
Yeah.
Front end, it's just design of the chassis and the suspension components.
Yeah, you have a much more sophisticated multi-link suspension. So,
On the B9.
the B9. The B9 tuning is coming along. It's just taking longer. The RS3 really benefited from all the earlier MQB developments that happened.
Well, that and it used an ECU that essentially has been around since 2010.
That everyone already had
It's
tunes.
already a very developed ecosystem.
The day the RS3 dropped, people had tunes available. There was no
Yep.
there was no reverse engineering
Yep.
really anything. So I'd say both. You need both.
Get each
Yeah.
one. They're very
Both is the way to go.
they're hard to compare. They're very different animals.
Yeah. Like sometimes the B9 S4 feels like a minivan compared to the
It does,
R8.
yeah.
So it's a very different car.
Yep.
All right. Well, thanks again for joining us, everybody. Thank you. Are we done?
Nope, we're still
we're
going.
wrapping- okay,
We're
cool.
wrapping up. Yep.
Thanks again for joining us. Appreciate all the questions. Thanks for listening. And we'll be back next Monday, 10 a.m. for episode 22.
Yep.
And as always, we're here. If you need us, contact at 034 Motorsport is the best way to reach us. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, guys.